Hi, welcome to Pretty in Camo. This is the first video in a new series that I'm going to do. I was gifted this book called Strange Stories, and it is by a local lady. Her name's Hattie. I'm going to cover up her name here. That's a picture of her. She would have grown up like with my mom. Well, like in the same community where my mom did. Anyway, she's a retired journalist who loves to talk to people and hear them tell their lifetime stories. She spent most of her career in Royal Nova Scotia, where she heard many and varied ghost stories, humorous stories, superstitions, and wise old sayings. By putting these stories in print, she believes they will be maintained long after those who have experienced them are gone. This is her third book. She did a heritage cookbook, which I'd love to get my hands on, but I can't find it. And then she has another one called Sayings from Wise People, and I'm going to see if I can get that one as well. So anyway, it is divided up into sections. There's ghosts, a whole bunch of ghost stories. Then there's a section called Fun, a section called Miracles, UFOs, Premonitions, Deja Vu, Chance Encounters, and then Tidbits. So there's lots of stories in it. So I hope to do, I don't know, just randomly do them. And this is an interesting one. I'm going to leave out last names because I don't want trolls trying to find the people. Anyway, even if you get the book, then you'd be able to, but I'm not going to put people's names out there. And this is a story called He Was There. It's from a lady named Bertha that lived in Bible Hill. And the author of the book got this story in January of 2004. It says, Bertha and her husband Doug love doing ceramics in their small craft business. They strive to make unique articles that retailers love to get and tourists love to buy. So it was with great pleasure that they discovered the genuine Nova Scotia bullfrog, which I have one. It was an exceptionally good-selling item. Mr. Frog's claim to fame was holding SOS pads, and he was always supposed to look dashing as he proudly sat on the kitchen counter near the sink. Mr. Frog was so distinctive he needed 2 molds to create him properly, so the Hankies contacted the late Jan, last name left out, to make these special commercial molds for them. Unfortunately, before the molds were finished, Mr. Hanky had to undergo lung surgery and suddenly passed away. About 2 months after his passing, the wife telephoned Bertha and asked her to come down and pick up the mold. She had done all the tests on it, and it aptly fit the details of what they wanted. She apologized for calling, saying over and over again that she really didn't want to call, but her husband insisted she do so. Bertha wondered why her husband was insistent, and she told him of the strange event that happened in the household that morning. Mrs. Blank had risen early and went to the pouring room. She was busy working when she heard a voice. She stopped and listened intently. The voice was coming from the frog mold. She told herself it couldn't be, but it was. She called her husband to come quickly, and he did. They both heard the passed-away husband's voice coming from the frog mold. He was telling them to give Bertha a message. He wanted her to follow her good instincts about the business, and he would always be there for her. Bertha was beside herself when she heard these comments. She gave the telephone to her daughter Debbie, who wrote the message down as Mrs. Blank repeated it. Bertha and Debbie continued on with the business, and strangely enough, Mr. Blank kept his promise. In the summer, when they were planning their Christmas products, they planned to do a holly leaf sleigh candy dish. Again, it was a 2-piece mold with the runners as 1 piece and the sleigh as the second. Their problem was they couldn't find the mold they had for the runners. They diligently searched for weeks to no avail. One evening, Debbie said she was so frustrated she really wished her dad was there to help find that runner mold for them. To their surprise, the next morning it was sitting on the top of their stairs in plain sight. No one else was in the house to find it and put it there. So her wish was granted as Dad came through for them once again. Oh, that's not a really scary story, but it kind of makes you wonder. Because I've had that happen. I lived in my great-grandparents' house for several years when my son was little. And I had cleaned the house because I was on social assistance at the time. And my social worker was coming the next morning. So, of course, you clean your house before your worker gets there. So anyway, I know that this item was not in the middle of my dining room floor when I went to bed that night. When I get up the next morning, there was something on the floor. So I picked it up, and it was like a brass wedding band. And it fit my thumb perfect. I've since can't find it. Don't know where it went now. But anyway, at the time, I just put it on my thumb and didn't think a whole lot more about it. And I went over to my grandmother's. And when she saw it, she turned right white as a ghost. And she said, "Where'd you get that?" I said, "Well, it was on my floor the other morning, middle of the dining room floor. Don't know how it got there." And she said, "Well, that's your great-grandmother's wedding ring, and it was buried on her." I'm like, obviously not, because I found it in my dining room, and we never ever knew where it came from, how it got there, other than she said it was my great-grandmother's wedding ring that she thought was buried on her, and I just randomly found it, probably 40 to 50 years after she had died, laying in the middle of my dining room floor. So that's a little weird. And have you had any weird experiences like that? If you have, leave a comment down below and let me know. And if you're a content creator, make a video about your experiences, and I'll be sure to check it out. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the post bell button so you'll be notified when I upload new videos. And I try to upload every day. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.